Hey guys, Mama Sam here. I am so excited for today's video because I'm starting a new series called Baking the Sims 4, but don't actually bake the Sims 4. It's not gonna taste very good. So what this series is going to be is me baking all of the stuff in the Sims 4. So I will start with the base game baking recipes and work my way up to the expansion recipes. Anything that has baking and pastries involved with it, I will be baking here in this new series. So I'll start with skill 1 recipes and work my way up to level 10. So if you like what you're seeing and you're super excited about this series like I am, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if there's any recipes in The Sims that you want me to tackle, leave it below in the comments section. I also need to put a disclaimer on this video. Guys, I am not a professional chef. I have never gone to school for cooking. I am not a professional baker. Everything that I have learned has always been on the job or through my own self-taught kind of methods. I am a cake decorator. That's what I know, and that's what I did for years until I got sick and could no longer work. I have all of my ingredients here for the project that we're going to be doing today, which is going to be the very first thing that you learn to bake in The Sims, which is the white cake recipe. So that is what I will be doing here. The finished project must look just like the item in The Sims 4. Video game baking and cooking, I mean, it's cool. So now that we have gotten all of that out of the way, let's get started. So for this recipe, you are going to need 1 cup of butter, 1.5 cups of sugar, 3 cups of cake flour, half a teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 cup of milk, and about 6 egg whites, which would be about 3/4 of a cup. All right, so let's start baking, guys. So we're gonna start with the eggs. 6 egg whites and just crack them into the bowl. And yes, I am using my fingers to separate the egg yolks. I also have my trash can right next to me. You can crack them in the shells, crack them in your hand. And now with your electric mixer, you are going to beat the egg whites until they become foamy peaks. Okay, you can do this with an electric hand mixer. You can also do it with an electric standing mixer. You could try to do it by hand. I don't know if that's gonna work, but if you do have a whisk, I mean, have at it. Woo! Pop that bad boy into the refrigerator. So now we're gonna cream our butter. Make sure that you leave the butter out to get soft. You do not wanna work with rock hard butter. And putting it in the microwave, it's gonna mess it up, okay? So just don't do it. You're gonna wanna leave your stick butter out for, I usually leave it out overnight. We're gonna be doing this in the big bowl because all of our ingredients are gonna end up here. Oh! Butter in, let's beat this bad boy. So now we have our whipped butter. It's time to add the sugar. Ooh. Now, we are gonna beat this again for about 2 minutes until it gets really nice and fluffy. All right, so now set that aside. So here we have our 3 cups of cake flour. You are going to add this salt. Oh my gosh. So pretty. And the baking powder. Ooh. One thing I want to point out with baking, you guys, baking, it's a science. This is not the time to wing it or just throw ingredients together, measure everything. I get so much anxiety when I watch people online bake and they don't measure. It's like, let's whisk it. Isn't this cute? Rainbow whisk. Mix that a little bit till it's all together. You don't have to get dramatic with it, I promise. So we have our butter and sugar. We have our flour. Set those aside for a minute, out of your way, so you don't not know what I'm doing. In another bowl, I know what you're thinking. Mom, Sam, oh my gosh, you're using so many bowls. I know, but it's just a baking thing. You don't want to mix your dry ingredients with your wet and yada, yada, yada. I know, but just do it, okay? So in my little bowl of milk that I have here, 1 cup of milk, you're going to want to mix your vanilla extract. Forgot what it was for a second. Just a whisk. All right. I love baking. I'm so weird. And don't mind my really gross kitchen. I know, it's a mess. All my daughter's drawings are up there. Look, it's my collection of my Disney coffee mugs. Yeah, this is my real house, my real kitchen. It's a mess, I know. My mother, she would be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're filming with it looking like that. All right, let's get back on track. So now we are going to start incorporating all of our ingredients together. So we are going to add our flour. We're going to add our flour mixture to our butter and our sugar mixture. I'm going to add a little bit of the milk because it is starting to get a little hard to stir. This is where having a stand mixer is really going to help. But you know, those of us who are struggling can't afford all the fancy things. All right, let's get this last bit of flour mixed in. All right, now I'm gonna add the milk. Yeah. Okay, let's add the rest of the milk because Mama Sam's impatient. Oh, by gum, it's starting to look like cake batter. Oh. Good golly, Miss Molly. Oh, okay. So now we are going to add the egg whites. You are going to fold these in. You are not going to whip them in. You're not going to beat them in. You are going to fold it in very gently. Okay? Watch. Ooh. So my absolute favorite DLC in The Sims 4 is Spa Day. With Spa Day, you get a recipe for a sugar-free carob nut coconut cake, I think it is. Now, I don't eat coconut. I think it's disgusting. But I am super excited to try that recipe. Okay, so we have our cake batter here. It looks absolutely beautiful. Preheat your oven to 350. Okay guys, so the oven is preheated and now you're going to want to grease your 2 9-inch cake pans. Now, a purist baker is going to tell you that you're going to want to grease it with butter and then flour and tap it around and all this kind of stuff. I am not that baker. I'm using baking spray. Now I know you're not supposed to. Shh, please don't tell anybody. It's faster and it works just as good. So if you are going to use cooking spray like MamaSam, you are going to want to make sure you don't miss a spot. So those are greased. Now we are going to evenly divide our batter into both of our cake pans. Ooh, now just kind of spread the batter out evenly. All right. So we have our batter in both, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a paper towel. I'm going to wipe the rim and the handles of the baking sheets. If you don't wipe it off, it's going to bake onto your pans. It's going to ruin them, so clean them off, okay? So pop these in the oven. Make sure they're on the middle rack in the oven. So start with 25 minutes and then adjust the time if you need to. They will be done when either a toothpick or a butter knife inserted into the middle comes out clean. So while we wait, we are now going to make our buttercream icing. So for our buttercream icing, you are going to need 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of shortening, 2 pounds of confectioner's sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and then 1.5 tablespoons of hot water. Now when it comes to buttercream icing, the thing that makes it really good, really true, shortening. If you don't have shortening, you aren't going to be able to make buttercream icing. It's just that simple. All right, so let's start mixing. You're gonna put your butter in the bowl. So much butter in baking, isn't it crazy? All right, now our shortening. Thank God this thing's a brick. Okay. Just mix in a little bit at a time. So I'm going to start with a spatula, and eventually we will beat this on low speed with our mixer. The only reason I'm not doing it right now is because I don't want this to all fly into my face. I just threw powdered sugar all over myself. Ugh. Mama Sam's gonna use her hand because this spoon is worthless right now. This is actually something we would do in the bakery as well. Just put our hands in the product with gloves on. Because sometimes when it comes to icing, using your hand just works better. All right, so I have mixed this now to where it is all wet. It is no longer got powdered sugar flying everywhere. So we are going to beat this on low until everything just is all mixed together. I am making a mess. Look at it. It looks like cheese. It looks like goat cheese. All right, I gotta get my water really hot. We're gonna add the vanilla. This would be so much easier if I had a stand mixer. All right, so 1.5 tablespoons of hot water. Oh, okay. This is now going to give our buttercream a creamy, smoother texture, not look like cheese. And you're going to want to turn up your mixer to medium-high and beat this for 10 minutes. Okay, done. Hand mixer. Easy? No. Impossible? No. We don't need that anymore. So for any of you that are maybe trying this recipe, following along at home, whatever you're doing, it is incredibly thick. It is buttercream icing. It's delicious. So this is gonna keep on the shelf for about 3 days, or you can put it in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. Now, I never recommend the refrigerator unless you just want to extend its shelf life, because if you put it in the refrigerator, you're gonna have to let it thaw out for hours. Then you're gonna have to rebeat it so that it reincorporates all the air back in, it makes it alive. Leaving it on the shelf, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is mix it a little bit to get it going. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wrap it and leave it on the shelf. Okay guys, so I just pulled the cakes from the oven. So if you have a cooling rack, I just realized you can see my sink full of dishes. That's not, don't look. So I am actually going to let these cool overnight. So we are good to go. I will see you guys tomorrow. All right guys, welcome back, day 2. So now we are going to reveal our cakes and decorate. Now because I'm used to decorating usually in an actual facility kitchen that's for decorating, I don't have a lot of the tools that I would have there. So I'm gonna make do with what I can. So now you can see the cake actually baked uneven, all right? We have a taller side here and a smaller side on that side. That's not a big deal. It happens all the time. And now, time to use our buttercream icing. I'm so excited about it. All right, so we're just gonna put a little bit of the icing here in between the layers so that it sticks. So I don't have a turntable here in my home, which is going to make things a little bit difficult, but not impossible. I also don't have a spatula like we use when we're decorating. So I'm gonna be using a butter knife. This can actually work just as well. That's simple. Cake number 2, let's go. Hey, don't you dare. All right, I don't recommend this. You put it down, if you've never done this before, on a plate or on something else and turn it on the counter and cut it. And because I have done this a million times, I'm doing it in my hand. There we go. So now it's time to start icing it. I love buttercream icing, and I sometimes feel like I'm the only person on planet Earth that does. I don't think any of my family, other than my husband, he likes buttercream icing too, but he likes like chocolate buttercream icing, which I don't care for. But yeah, whenever I would take people's cake orders, it was always, can we get the not so thick icing? And I'm like, what's the point of having a cake then? It's so much fun to have the really sugary thick icing. Wow, I'm gonna have a lot of icing left over. Also, I don't have any piping bags, so I will be using a Ziploc bag because when I went to the store to get everything I needed for this, I totally forgot piping bags. So yeah, just filling in some of the holes, and then it is time to ice this bad boy down so it doesn't look so, you know, messy. So what do you think, guys? Pretty good? Just wait. It looks awful. Okay, so I got my flat icer. This is to ice the icing flat. This would be so much easier with a turntable. Okay, dab. Not, I know I'm old. Part of the decorating process is overconfidence. Decorators have it in abundance. We just tell ourselves, you know what? There's nothing we can't do. Even if there's something we can't do, we'll never let the cake know. Okay, so our cake is iced, and now it is time to start decorating. Okay, so because I'm a dingus who didn't go and get all of the utensils I needed, just bought the ingredients for the cakes, I am going to have to use a Ziploc bag for our decorating, which is fine, it works, but decorating bags definitely give you more control. Also, your finished product is going to just look a lot nicer. I mean, I'm talking to you guys like I'm thinking you're doing this, but you don't have to. You can just, you know, watch too. So here we go. I've got my icing in my bag. Just trying to wake it up a little bit here. Oh, I should have probably cut a hole in the bag before I did that, huh? Huh, whoops, whoopsie. I will definitely be getting some piping bags after this. Look, it fell. Just stay there, nobody will know. Alrighty, so for the top, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna start like that, and it's a little wavy. Alrighty, so then just, ooh, ooh. My gosh, there's gonna be a lot of icing on this bad boy. Okay, so I have finished doing the decorative parts, and now it is time to buff out those blemishes. Now, to flatten out some of the blemishes or puffiness in the cake, you can use your finger. You can do this if you're making your cake at home for you and possibly your family, if they're cool with that. Don't do that if you're making a cake for somebody professionally. Use a glove. Because buttercream icing stiffens up so much, you can actually use your fingers to help you with decorating. And now for the final touch of our Sims cake. Ooh. And there we have it, guys, the Sims 4 cake in real life. So, as much as I really enjoyed doing this, I'd have to say this was kind of a failure. The cake is not clean looking enough. It's not quite as tall or white as the cake in the picture, as the Sims cake. So for a first time attempt, I'll give myself a pass because this is the first time I've done this. I don't have all of the tools I normally would have in order to create a cake like the one it looks like. Trust me, I promise you, I can do that. So I'd have to say out of 5 stars, I would give this one 1. Yeah, I don't know if I'm being too harsh on myself or what, but as a cake decorator, to me, this is unacceptable. I would not let somebody take this cake. But next time would be nicer. Having the piping bags, having the correct icing tools, having a turntable, even maybe having a 3-tiered cake instead of 2-tiered since it didn't get quite as tall. All that stuff plays a factor. All right, well, it didn't really pass the visual test. I have failed The Sims 4, but let's see how it tastes. It's a very dense cake. It's much denser than I was anticipating. Also, the icing in the middle, there could be a little bit more. But it actually looks pretty nice. What do you think? It's so easy to bake at home, guys. Do it. Moment of truth. That was a sprinkle, I promise. The icing is absolutely phenomenal. This is buttercream icing. How it should always be eaten. Made from scratch. The cake, however, is a little dry and a little dense. And it doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. Anyway, just on taste alone, I'll give this thing 2 stars out of 5. The flavor of it's not horrible. And if you had some ice cream on the side, it would help re-soak the cake. But this icing, you guys, oh my gosh. But anyway, guys, that is it. I hope you had as much fun as I did with this. I thought it was an absolute blast. I can't wait for next week's video, which will be a chocolate cake. It's identical to this one, except it's chocolate. And MamaSam actually does have an amazing chocolate cake recipe. I don't really make white cake. Nobody really likes it in my family. So this was a challenge, and I think if I would have adjusted some of the ingredients in the white cake, it would have been more flavorful. So I am so excited. Baking The Sims 4. Let's get this series going. So excited so MamaSam can show you how to bake, you know, sort of. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, friends.